And good morning. So it is Monday. It is now suddenly August, and it's a holiday, and I didn't even realize that. So thank you guys for showing up on a holiday. That makes me so happy. This morning, we are going to work through, and I'm going to chat for a bit while a couple more people are logging on. This morning, we're going to work through a program to help relieve some of the tension caused by, it used to be called text neck, and I call it tech neck because texting isn't the only thing that we do that brings us into this posture. We do a whole bunch of different behaviors for that. So again, good morning, Donna. So if you could please make sure that you have a strap. I grabbed this one from my bathrobe, and also a towel that you could roll up, or an extra yoga mat. I'm sitting on a bolster, but we're going to use that for some of the stretching we're doing today. So today, again, we're going to kind of move out of what we were in last week, which was more of a vinyasa flow. And this week, we're going to come back into the realm of almost more of a hatha practice. So we're going to be doing one piece at a time, kind of easing our way into postures, seeing how it feels, and then gently removing ourselves from those postures. So when we think about what happens when we get, as I call it, tech neck, it is because we are hunching forward, right? Doing this, or sometimes doing this. This is driving. This isn't drinking beers, but it's driving. I'm not a good driver, so maybe this is why I'm not a good driver. I'm also not a very good mime. Okay, so the reason that we are doing everything today is because we are spending more and more time in this posture, right? As opposed to this beautiful posture. Whether or not you are aware, your head is very heavy. Your head weighs around, are you ready for this? 12 pounds. And I'm going to go ahead and say I'm a full 12 pounder because obviously my brain is huge. That might be hyperbole, I admit. Anyway, so we've got about 12 pounds sitting on the cervical spine. So a chunk of spine, right? And there's about 20-ish little muscles that allow us to do all of this. And then all of those little muscles feed into some of the bigger ones, the traps, the lats, all of these things that help us move and function, things that help us sit up straight. We've done a lot of work on core muscles. We've done a lot on glutes and quads, but this is really understanding that just as we practice beautiful postures and great behaviors and mindfulness and all that stuff, we also often are practicing bad behaviors, myself included. My bad behaviors are this. Now, for many years, I was doing this with a book, right? But now I'm doing this with a little tiny phone. And it's even different with a book. Some of you will still have the same thing happening with the tablet. With the book, it was a little bit even more so you could be up. But with our little devices and phones are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, we are hunching over. That causes issues. As the 12 pounds of awesomeness starts to tilt forward, the impact to the cervical spine is magnified. So a small tilt forward, not so bad. A little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And all of those forces multiply, which is why we're having a lot of issues as a result. So what I want you to think about always, even if you are on your device, use it proudly. Bring it up here, right? If you're using a laptop, put it up on books. Have it at a proper height. If you're driving, drive up like this, not like this. All of those things will help. So we are going to start this morning just lying down on the back. So stretch out, get comfortable, and we're just going to do a quick check-in physically to see what's happening. So stretch your legs out to begin, if possible, and then from there, we will start to move and get more cozy. And I've got my tea on the go, although I will tell you it's a heat wave here. So I probably should have selected a cool beverage. Okie dokie. So take a moment and roll your shoulders down into the mat. And I said to stretch out your legs, so I should do that too. Give your hips a little bit of a wiggle and just take a moment to pull up and back into your core. Notice what's happening in your low back. So mine today feels a little bit tight, which means I don't want to stay in this position for too long. I don't want to start stressing out the low back just yet. So I'm going to bring my feet back and just comfortably grounding through the floor, toes are spread, arches lifted. I'm not going to rest my knees together because I want some activation of the muscle groups. Okay. Let's deepen the breath, close your eyes, and bring your arms out to the sides, palms facing down. And think about that space now that has been created underneath your neck. So when you're lying on your back like this, your head is on the ground. Your shoulders are on the ground, but there is that space, right, underneath the neck. And then as you're lying here, just change the position of your head. So maybe stretch your neck back so you can bring the chin into the chest. Take some breaths here. And then we're going to shift this again. So lean your head further back, creating more of an arch under the neck. And when you're doing this, you might find that your mouth wants to open. That's okay. Release that jaw. Let the mandible go. And then move your head back to a normal, natural, comfortable position. Cool. So bring your arms all the way out to the sides, palms facing up, and then bend at the elbows. So you're now into what I like to call cactus arms, because this to me looks like a cactus. It might not look like a cactus to anybody else, but to me, in my mind, I'm suddenly green and prickly. Look out. So for some people right away, it is going to be impossible today to bring the backs of your hands to the floor in this posture. If that is your experience, you can stretch the arms up and bring the fingertips together. So creating more of a triangle pose, which means you're no longer a cactus. So if this posture is hard for you to hold, that generally indicates that your pectorals are very tight. The reason the pectorals are tight, for the most part, is because you have been leaning forward, rolling forward, hunching forward. So when we talk about tech neck, it's not just about those 20 little muscles in the neck. It's about all the big muscle groups that surround them. And by releasing the surrounding muscle groups, we can start to have some improvement in the little tiny areas. Start big and then get more focused. I think that's how we do a lot of stuff in life. Okay. So take a moment and bring your arms all the way up to the sides again, releasing that tension from the cactus arms. And let's get the breath flowing, because again, we're going to be pulling and stretching stuff. And if we are tight, if the breath is not fluid, it's hard to release the tension. It's hard to create space. So with your palms facing up, Take a slow, deep breath in as you start to bring the hands up over top of the heart. This is our in-breath. And then as you exhale, gently let the arms come down. Very slow breath, lots of control. Hold the core tight. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Breathing up. And down. And again, inhale up. This time as you exhale, come part way. So you've created this beautiful big V. And as you breathe, just hold the arms here, keep the core tight. And then open the arms a little bit more. And notice how this changes. Notice how this changes where you feel the resistance, feel the force. And then open a little bit further. Again, you're going to feel different muscles starting to work here. It's a combination of biceps and triceps. And then open them a little bit more. Really deepen the breath at this point. And we're going to sweep up again. Inhale. And then exhale, let the arms come all the way down. And when they come down to the floor, rotate the palms so they're facing down into the floor. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Pull your knees back onto the tummy. Point your toes. Really big breaths here. Just a little bit of love for our hips because we're going to be in a seated posture shortly. Push that left leg up into the air, and I'm flexing this foot now. It's like I'm pushing up to the ceiling. Lots of breaths. And down, point those toes. Other side, pushing up. Depending on what you've been doing over the weekend, your hamstrings might be talking back to you. Mine sure are. Bring the knee down. Both legs push up this time, all the way up. We're going to keep our arms where they are. Really make sure you're engaging with the floor so your fingertips are holding on. Tight through the core. We're going to start to bring the feet apart, just like we created a V with the arms. Now we're doing it with our legs. Hold and breathe deeply. Good, and slowly bring those feet back together. Knees come down. Bring your arms down to rest on either side of the hips and feet pop down. Okay, keeping the core nice and tight, we're gonna breathe in deeply. And as you exhale, start to peel your hips off the floor. And so I'm not pushing so much with the legs. I'm really lifting up through my core. My bum cheeks are pinching together so tightly right now. I don't want to brag, but feel like I could crush a walnut. You're welcome for that great Monday morning imagery. Oh, live classes. All right, from here, we are going to stretch the arms up over top of the head. Lift your hips up even higher. Hold and breathe. Notice what's happening through your shoulders. Hopefully it's something good. Sweep the arms back down. And I hope you can maintain this posture. If you need to take a break, lower the hips. But what I want you to do now is roll the left shoulder under and then the right, and then hold your hands together. They're going to want to pop up to the bum, push them down, keep pushing up. I'm wiggling stuff closer together. I'm pushing up higher. Now we're going to do a release. So slowly let go of the hands, but leave the arms where they are. And then we're going to lower those hips all the way down. So we're arched up here through the back. We're on top of those shoulders. You should feel a stretch now through the pectorals. Keep breathing. And then release the shoulders and sink down into the floor. Good. We're going to do that once again. So where you're probably feeling this, as I said, is a stretch across the chest. So through those pectorals, this is our first kind of activation of that area. Okay, and think about it, right? If you're ever kind of wondering, how do I stretch stuff at home? How do I do home practice? Think about the position your body is normally in, and then you want to do the opposite. That's how you find that balance. That's how you find that union. So once again, and if you need to move your heels further back, you can. I'm going to. Notice your feet. Make sure your toes are engaged. Arches lifted, core is tight. Breathing in. And then exhale, peel your hips up. Roll left under, then right shoulder under. Hold the hands, lifting up a little bit higher. And enjoy this back bend. I love how this feels. If you're not loving it, take her easy. It is Monday, it is a holiday. Okay, make sure the hands are down and not sticking up into your bum. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know. Hands come apart, start to lower gently, slowly down. We're still on those shoulders. Really deepen the breath here. Notice where you're feeling a stretch. And then let the shoulders roll out. Good. So after that first little stretch, join me in moving back to cactus arms. And just wiggle yourselves into the floor here. Notice if there's any difference. Has anything shifted? Maybe not, maybe yes. So notice all the little steps along the journey. Good. From here, knees to tummy, grab a hold, and we're gonna roll all the way up to seated. Good. Yay, great to see everyone. So I was saying this morning when I first logged on, I'm finding that I'm talking to my dogs a lot more recently. They're not yet really talking back in a significant way, but I'm not talking a lot. So then I start doing a class and I sound all hoarse and raspy. And also anybody who enjoys seasonal allergies like I do, goldenrod has now arrived, and I'm actually grateful to have to wear a mask sometimes because I'm a little dribbly with my allergies. It's that wonderful time of year for many of us. Okay, so let's get going with some more shoulders and stuff. So come into whatever seated posture is going to work for you for a little while. And if the floor sucks and you hate it, then put your sweet self up on a chair and it can just be as good as what we're doing here. A couple of things that we want to think about. Again, just notice for a moment how you would normally be holding that electronic device. So we need to work on reversing this, right? So let's just do some gentle stuff to begin. Join me in a little shoulder roll. And I just love this anyway because my shoulders are crunchy, which sounds gross. And it is gross, trust me. And if you can, move down a little bit, make this fun. obviously. Unless you have a better idea of fun, then I'm always open to suggestions. And then coming back up and coming back down. Nice. And rolling both shoulders. So now we're going to reverse it. So moving forward. And considering all the time we spend like this, and I'm lumping y'all in with myself here, but considering all the time we spend doing this, this feels harder for me, right? And it's not that I can't do it, but it's harder, and that's more so muscle memory. Maybe try one shoulder at a time and roll it down. This looks great, by the way. I love watching all of you doing this. Super fun. And then rolling up. Okay, so, and you guys can answer me by putting your hands up. Just doing that, are you feeling some heat or some tightness or activation in the neck? Anyway, you're all like, maybe. Okay, I am. So that's what we want, right? We're activating these big muscles, which is impacting the little muscles, which means we're getting closer. So good, now that we've activated that, that means that there's some increased blood flow to that area. And it means that now we've woken them up. So let's welcome them to the day. They are going to be participating along with us. So join me in bringing shoulder to ear. Deepen your breath because this is a stretch and we want to create a space where release can happen. And then other side. Good, roll forward and up. Then we go to the other side, down. And pulling down on the other side. We're gonna do this standing as well. This is just a little good morning to our necks. Great. Okay, so the next stretch that we're going to do, we're actually gonna, because I think we'll do the rest standing, because I'm looking at you guys and you're going, I didn't show up on a holiday to sit cross-legged. Hear you, understand what you're saying. So let's move into another great release for the pectorals. So we're gonna do playful puppy. Then we're gonna do some activation of some of the back muscles. And then we'll come up to standing for some really juicy, delicious, lovely stretches. So let's move on to our hands and knees. And I want you to really be mindful about setting this up this morning. And by that, I mean, usually for playful puppy, I just kind of slide on into it, but I want to do it slightly different today. So starting on hands and knees, and you want to have your hands under your shoulders, please and thank you. Core is nice and tight and engaged. And then I want you to start to walk it back. So very gently, moving back here. So around this point, you want to kind of internally rotate the shoulders. So they're kind of rolling in a little bit. And I'm going to walk back a little bit further. And then I'm going to start to sink down. Maybe forehead comes to the mat. You can always rest your head on that blanket that you grabbed. Breathe so deeply. You're going to feel probably under your shoulder blades. Keep holding if you can. And to release this, I'm going to invite you to pull one arm back and then the other one. And we're actually going to, I'm coming right off my mat. Hopefully you have space. Nobody's going out a door onto a deck. And I apologize if you are in for this posture that might be appearing on the internet. Push down into a child's pose. Stretch the arms forward and sink. Pull the hands back, pushing up, roll your shoulders. Okay, so from here, and we're gonna do that once more through, but first, I invite you to lift up onto your knees. If this is uncomfortable, what you can do is take your mat, flip it over a few times. Ta-da, suddenly we have some nice cushioning for the patella. So we are going to come into a little bit of a back bend here. This is a very easy beginner approach to the camel, which we're not going to do a full camel, no worries. So lifting up and lengthening, so you want to feel that you're pulling up. Hips are going to tuck under, shoulders drop down and back. And imagine that you are being pulled up. I'm actually pulling my hair, that's not appropriate. Pulling up through the center of your head. And normally in the tech neck world, we're like this, right? So bring that chin back, shoulders move to the back body. I want you to bring one hand to the top of your bum, the other hand to the top of your bum. Roll the shoulders back, chest is open here. Tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. Lengthen from the pelvis up, so really feel that lift through the pelvic floor. What a great feeling for a Monday. Elbows come together and just starting to gently lean back. Not very far, obviously, just a little ways. And now what I want you to do is start to bring your head back. Roll the shoulders closer together, looking up towards the ceiling. Let your mouth hang open. Couple of breaths. And then bring the chin back, forward and down. Keep those shoulder blades pulling together. And then slowly releasing the arms down. Good, I'm just gonna flip under my toes here, and then a nice stretch up. And again, chin comes down, chin comes up, and pushing down. Nice, good. So you're feeling a whole bunch of different things there. You're probably feeling some activation of the neck and maybe some tightness. It's a very difficult thing to lean back and let your mouth hang open. It feels weird. It is psychologically not comfortable to be in that posture. If you really feel you need to pull everything back together, you can. But by releasing and relaxing the mandible, which is your jaw, it helps to release some of that tension. And again, think about it. Anybody out there who experiences TMJ, it's all related to these 20 or so little muscles, right? So unflip the mat. We're going to go through that once more. And if it's too intense a stretch, back it up a bit. I'm going to start right at the top this time because now I've learned my lesson. Hands start under the shoulders. So we're going to go back to playful puppy. We're going to walk back, start to internally rotate the shoulders, sink down. Good, and then pull one arm back, the other arm comes back, move into a child's pose. Rolling up, shoulders come back. We're gonna lift up to the knees again, if you need to gather a mat for comfort. And never skip on the comfort. It's too important. Okay, and then we are going to roll the shoulder back, hand to the bum, roll the shoulder back, hand to the bum. I feel like we're about to do the time warp, right? It's just a jump to the left. Now that song's going to be in my head all day. Nothing like a little Rocky Horror Picture Show for a Monday morning. Okay, so bring your shoulders together, lift up and back through the chest, and your hips are tucked under, lengthening through the core, and bring your head back. Bring the chin forward, move the shoulder blades together even more. And then bring all sweet 12 pounds of your head back up and release the shoulders and the arms. Good. Okay. I'm just going to flip my mat there. We're going to come up to a standing posture, and this is when it would be a great time to grab that belt or strap or whatever it is that we're calling it. Mine is right here. Perfect. Okay. Yay! So if anybody needs a minute to go grab a strap or whatever we're going to use today, while everybody else comes up to standing, just join me here for a moment with your feet out to the sides. Shoulders are back, hips are tucked under, nice and tight through the core. And think about where your shoulders normally are when you stand, which is probably a little bit forward. So what I want you to keep in mind is this notion of up, back, and down. So we would want to bring our shoulders up, keep that core tight, hips are tucked under, roll them to the back body, and then let them slide down. So even when I stood up, it was more a case of this. Great posture looks more like that, pushing your chest forward. And I know for many women, it's been a lifetime struggle of wanting to contain and keep to yourself. I do not have that struggle. But again, it's a sense of just opening through the chest. This is warriorship, leading with the heart. So once more, bring the shoulders up, back, and down. And when you do that, make sure the hips stay tucked under. One more time, please. Up, back, and down. Good, beautiful. Now we have our strap. I want you to hold on to the floor with your feet and keep all the muscles in the legs engaged. With your strap, just take kind of a comfortable width. So I'm a little bit wider than hip width apart, and just kind of make sure there's some tension here. Keep those shoulders where they are. So again, up, back, and down. From here, slowly start to bring your arms up. Oh. I'm going to just adjust my camera. I apologize, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing the whole time. I thought I had it perfect. No luck. Okay, so we are all the way up. And then I want you to really stretch up here. Keep the hips tucked under. Bring those arms to the back body. So what it would look like from this angle would be when I say to the back body, meaning moving back. So you're holding back here. Keep that tension going, so you're pulling apart. And now I want you to move the neck. So bring the chin to the chest. Deep breaths. And coming all the way up. And then leaning back. And bring your head forward. Good. Bring the arms down in front. Good. We're going to go a little bit wider if possible, so extend. So I've gone from just a little bit beyond my hips to double that maybe. It looks like I have kind of same width of the hips now is between the arms, if that makes sense. Hips are tucked under, core is tight, and we come up again. Holding here, and first just line up those arms with the ears. Just like with some of the other work we did this morning, you're probably feeling the biceps working a bit and the triceps. Lengthen through the neck and then move to the back body. Chin to chest. Head comes up and moving behind. So leaning back. And coming forward, arms come down. Beautiful. Roll your shoulders. Good. Okay, so go back to that first alignment, which is about a little bit more than hip width apart. Again, check the rest of the posture in your body. So hips are tucked under, core is tight. And now we're going to do a little side body stretch. So bring those arms all the way up. Lengthen, and as you lengthen through the core, lengthen up through your neck. And now we're going to lean over to one side. Up to center. And to the other side. And once more, up to center. Side body, center, and the other side body. Make sure your legs and feet are still active, up to center. Bring this behind your body once more. Tuck the hips under, lengthen, looking up, bring the head back. And then everything comes forward and down. Roll your shoulders. And just take a moment to relax. Super important to release that in a nice way after. Good, perfect. Okay. So we're gonna do another great little stretch. And again, what that was doing was kind of allowing you to lengthen, set your posture, release some tension. We're gonna do another fun stretch. You can do this sometimes without the strap, but I want everybody to feel that this is possible. As this stretch becomes more comfortable, you can actually do it in a chair at your desk, or if you are on a device, you could do it easily then. So what I want you to do is make a loop, a little lasso with your strap, and then lasso your opposite arm, and you want to slide it up just above the elbow. Cool? So what we're going to do is bend that arm. I'll show you from behind. And we're going to be actually pulling over. So you can do this just by reaching and holding and pulling over, but I want you to do it with the strap. This is fairly subtle. Let's bring our feet back to that nice standing posture. I'm going to start, and you can have the arm straight or bent behind, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have mine bent behind. So what I'm going to do is make sure my hips are tucked under, core is tight, shoulder is rolled back, especially on the side I'm going to be pulling on. And then I start to move behind. I'm going to adjust my strap here. So I'm pulling all the way over here. You can again see from behind what's happening. So you're actually pulling back and down in this release. And when we think about that posture on our tech devices, this is completely the opposite. And then as long as you're not in any discomfort here, we're going to start to bring the head to the shoulder. That's the same side as the arm that's doing the pulling with that strap. So for me, it is my right side. So I'm going to bring my ear to the shoulder, hold and breathe. Please breathe deeply. This is a very intense stretch. We'll do 2 more breaths. And then roll your head to center and up, gently releasing, move your arm back forward, and a little bit of a forward motion here. And then roll the shoulders back. Good. So again, think about it, right? Normally with tech devices, we are like this. And I'm exaggerating. I don't actually text anybody like this. But if I did, I'm sure I'd be pretty famous. What we were doing to reverse that is pulling the shoulder up and back, and then actually pulling it across. So by doing that, not only are we creating a nice arch through the back muscles here, but think about what's happening in the pectorals. really that extended range of motion. The same thing happens when we're stretching our iliopsoas. We create a back bend because that creates the largest opportunity for a stretch. Let's move to the other side. So again, nice posture to begin with the legs. Roll your shoulder back, arm is relaxed. Lasso that arm, or lasso, I guess you could say. Is it lasso or lasso? Somebody can message me later and help me figure that one out. So the arm can be straight or bent. I'm going to bend it, and when I do that, I'm just resting the back of my hand on top of my butt. Lengthen, shoulders move to the back body anyway. Stretch up through your neck, relax through the face and the jaw, and then starting to pull across. So it's interesting, I don't know if anybody else is finding this, my left arm, which I'm now pulling with, it's feeling tired because of the stretch it just went through. So just be mindful. And if you have rotator cuff issues, please be mindful of this. Okay, and there's my hand sticking through. And I'm going to start to move my head towards the shoulder. So as you're breathing, notice what's going on here. Is there a difference between left and right side? Let's roll back to center. Head comes up, releasing down. And roll your shoulders up, back and down. Good. So for me, I noticed, and it's interesting because I always feel a difference between my left and my right hips because of injuries and stuff like that. But I'm really finding there's more tightness in this side, which is not, usually my shoulders feel pretty even. So I get so excited anytime I notice something like that. I don't feel like, oh crap. I feel like, okay, well, here's something I can work on. Let's see if I can shift that and bring stuff into balance. Look at me being the peacemaker. So let's do a little bit of another stretch, and then we're going to come back to this. So you can just drop your belt, or you can tie it in a beautiful bow along your waist. We are going to do the stretch we were doing seated, very basic. So bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Arms are heavy. Bring your ear to a shoulder, your choice. And make sure your feet are still gripping the floor or your mat. So in this stretch, you're feeling the tension here, right? Where you're creating the space. Let's create more space by extending that arm down. And we're going to create more space by bringing a hand up and gently pulling. Keep the core tight, hips stay tucked under, legs are engaged. We need the rest of the body on guard so that this can relax. I hope that makes sense. And notice where you're feeling this. Maybe you're feeling it here. Maybe it's moving down. I feel some sensation into my shoulder blade, which means that stuff is really starting to let go. You could also do a little arch with the arm. Okay, so to release this, relax the arm. Gently let your head come up. Roll your shoulders. Beautiful. Let's go to the other side. Up, back, and down with shoulders. Head to shoulder. Opposite arm gets heavy and drops. Pulling over. Lots of deep breaths. Could do this as well. And then releasing, and let your head come up. Good. Roll from shoulder to shoulder. Slowly with lots of deep breaths. So think about what you're doing now, right? Like think about if you're feeling some tension. I am now feeling tension in my neck and shoulders, which is a sign. I always think that I do stuff. I know I don't sit well, but I always feel like I take good breaks and I do lots of good stuff for my shoulders. You can take a break too with me and just roll your shoulders as we gently move back and forth. And I feel now, you know, when I talk on the phone, because I have to do that a lot, or when I'm not doing this, and I use headphones, so I'm not doing this. But even still, these stretches are activating and waking stuff up, and that tells me that I'm not actually doing enough. And it's great to do a targeted class for all of this, but it's such a wake-up call for me, right? Going, oh, I know better, I can do better. So all of these little pieces, the key is not to have to do it once a month in one class, but to incorporate all of these pieces on a regular basis. So before we go back to that nice stretch with the belt, join me lacing the fingers, pulling forward. And let's bring our feet a little bit closer together now, please. Nice and tall, tug your hip center, pulling forward. And we're going to bend the knees and create this beautiful arch in the back. Well, I don't know about beautiful. You know what I'm saying. And try and tuck your ears between the arms. And then come up to standing. And we'll go again. So pushing forward. And up. Good. From here, push the arms up and pulling them all the way up. This always feels so good. Really lengthening, lengthen through the head and the neck. And pushing up. And you want to feel like you're pushing up, like you're headbutting the ceiling. Good. And then release the hands and push down. And roll up, back, and down to release. Good. Okay. Let's go back to that beautiful stretch. And then we're going to do a nice release on the mat. I'm going to have a sip of tea as well. And you know what? It's tough. It's tough for me sometimes as an instructor because I always want to have this beautiful, fluid, engaging class, and this feels very much like a boot camp where it's like, now we do this, and now we do this, and now we do this. But this is kind of like, you know, sitting down and just eating the big plate of kale. Sometimes you just have to reset everything in the body and make that commitment once again to do stuff in a better way. So just meaning shifting our posture, noticing stuff, and working on a regular basis to offset some of the bad behaviors, or I shouldn't say bad behaviors, but some of the postures that we take on in our daily functioning that our body might want some relief from. So we have to live, so this is how we recover. So let's grab the strap once more, please, and lasso an arm. Remembering to roll to the back body and then start to pull across. Tuck the hips under. Active feet and legs. I'm going to take a wider stance for comfort. And then I'm going to start to bring my ear down to that shoulder. Let's do 3 deep breaths in and out. Good. Head comes up, releasing the arm. Let's switch to the other side. Up, back, and down. Pulling across. And then moving the shoulder down. And releasing. Good. Okay, so what I want you to do is to join me in a really beautiful kind of rag dog forward fold, just to bring everything forward, and then we'll roll it back once more. So just kind of gently flop up, just like a rag doll. And here, just maybe a little, oh, because this always feels so good. Just stretch up and up. This is great. This is my life. I have this big plan and then I get distracted because this feels so good. All right, and then just flopping forward, bend your knees a little bit. Shake out your hair. You can hold on to the elbows if you like. Maybe a little bit of a twist. And then rolling up. As you come up, remember to put the shoulders up, back, and down. And that should feel good. And then please come and join me on the mat. So there are some additional releases that we're just not going to have time to do today. There really are, and I'll try and do this, a similar class to this again soon, because I did have a lot of requests for this, and thank you for those requests. But if I can instill upon you one thing, it is just the sense that whatever the behavior is, whatever the activity is that we're doing a lot of. So if it's sitting, think about how that impacts this, right? When you're sitting, stuff is pulled forward, including the iliopsoas. So the reverse of that would be to release and lengthen. So if we are doing this for our tech stuff, this is the opposite. And it's not that we want to spend the rest of our life doing this, but between doing this and doing this, we find that balance, that sweet spot. And the sweet spot is when internal organs function, when we breathe properly, and when we don't have pain and discomfort. So that's what we're working towards. Okay, roll up your blanket or your towel. I have a lovely bolster. You can also use a rolled up yoga mat. We've done this before, but it's always a nice thing to do. Tuck it in to your tail, and then very slowly pull up and back through your core, and we lean back on it. If your head is not supported by this, don't worry. Open up through the chest, and arms come out to the sides. So you can go back to cactus arms here if it feels okay. Please don't straighten your legs. That's really intense for the low back, and we haven't warmed up to that. If you wanted to, you could rest your knees together. This is intense. Close your eyes and just focus on the in and out of the breath. So if you were just doing this as a way to release tension through the pectorals and the shoulders, you could hold this for as long as you want. We've done a lot of work on that area, so I don't want to hold it too long today. Plus, we're getting to the end of our amazing class. So I want you to just keep that breath deep to release this posture. Again, we do it in a few steps. So I'm going to bring my knees a little bit closer together. I'm going to be rolling onto my right side, so I'm going to bring my hand to the right side of my face, elbow out to the side, and I'm just going to gently roll over onto that side, coming off the bolster or the blanket, whatever you're on. And then you can just take whatever you had rolled up and just place it between the thighs, and it'll reach to your ankles. So this is just a nice way when you come into that recovery position, you're keeping your hips even, which helps to offset any discomfort you might have in the low back. You just close your eyes. Good. Okay, so let's move into, from this posture, let's move into a spinal twist, and then we'll come up to seated. So you're just going to take that bolster out from between the legs. You're going to come back onto your back. Bring your knees up to your tummy. And bring the arms back out to the sides, bend to the elbows, palms facing up. And even here, see if you can notice, is there a difference? Is there even the slightest bit of a release that's happened? Is this more possible for you? And then keeping the core tight, we're very slowly going to start to lower the legs all the way to the left-hand side. And I'm going to push into that right shoulder and look to the right. Just felt a nice pop in my back. And again, often when you do this, you'll feel that stretch all the way up into the shoulder blades. And then tight core, knees come back to center, and you're going to lower to the other side and roll into that other shoulder. And slowly coming back to center. Give yourself a really good hug. Again, kind of wiggle into that floor. Let's have one really big stretch here. So stretch out the legs, pull the arms up over top of your head. And then melt. So our release that we did on the bolster is going to have to kind of cover for our Shavasana today. Pull the knees in, And make your way up to a seated posture. Let's bring the hands together in front of the heart. And as you're just kind of holding here for the last moments of the class, just be mindful. Be mindful of the fact that you have really done some deep stretching. You have activated some stuff that was pretty stiff and tight, and you've probably woken some stuff up. So lots of fluids for the next while. Maybe even if you have one of those magic bags, or if you have somebody to give you a bit of a shoulder massage, or even some Voltaren if you're feeling tender or sore. But good work. This reverses a lot of kind of what we do unintentionally to ourselves. And it's not always fun, but the results are so important. So taking a few more moments to feel good and proud about what you've done to reverse any kind of the negative impact of staying connected online. And then we acknowledge each other by saying namaste. You guys are awesome. I hope that you feel good, and I hope that you feel that you have resolved some of your tech neck issues, and I feel it's worth resolving them because I don't want you guys to stop connecting with me online. So I thank you for doing the work and for being so awesome.